This is a reading from the book of Skyrim. Well, from the books of Skyrim. Azura in the Box, Ancient Tales of the Dwemer, Part 11, by Mara Barsal. Aishlibar had enjoyed an adventurous youth, but had grown to be a very wise, very old Dwemer who spent his life searching for the truth and dispelling superstitions. He invented much and created many theorems and logical structures that bore his name. But much of the world still puzzled him, and nothing was a greater enigma to him than the nature of the Adra and the Daedra. Over the course of his research, he came to the conclusion that many of the gods were entirely fabricated by man and mere. Nothing, however, was a greater question to Aishlibar than the limits of divine power. Were the greatest beings the masters of the entire world? Or did the humbler creatures have the strength to forge their own destinies? As Aishlibar found himself nearing the end of his life, he felt he must understand this last basic truth. Among the sage's acquaintances was a holy Chimer priest named Athnic. When the priest was visiting Bethelag, Aishlibar told him that he intended to find the nature of divine power. Athenic was terrified and pleaded with his friend not to break this great mystery. But Aishlibar was resolute. Finally, the priest agreed to assist out of love for his family and friend. Though he feared the result of this blasphemy, Athenic summoned Azura. After the usual rituals by which the priest declared his faith in her powers, and Azura agreed to do no harm to him, Aishlibar and a dozen of his students entered the summoning chamber, carrying with them a large box. As we see you in our land, Azura, you are the goddess of the dusk and dawn and all the mysteries therein, says Aishlibar, trying to appear as kindly and obsequious as he could be. It is said that your knowledge is absolute. So it is, smiled the Daedra. You would know, for the example, what is in this wooden box, says Aishlibar. Azura turned to Athenic, her brow furrowed. The priest was quick to explain, Goddess, the Dwemer is a very wise and respected man. Believe me, please. The intention is not to mock your greatness, but to demonstrate it to the scientist and the rest of the skeptical race. I have tried to explain your power to him, and his philosophy is such that he must see it demonstrated. If I am to demonstrate my might in a way to bring the Dwemer race to understanding, it might have been a more impressive feat that you would have me do, growled Azura, and turned to lock Aishlibar in the eyes. There is a red pelted flower in the box. Aishlibar did not smile or frown. He simply opened the box and revealed to all that was empty. When the students turned to look to Azura, she was gone. Only Athenic had seen the goddess' expression before she vanished, and he could not speak. He was trembling so a curse had fallen. He knew that truly, but even crueler, was the knowledge of divine power that had been demonstrated. Aishlibar also looked pale, uncertain on his feet, that his face shone with not fear but bliss, the smile of a Dwemer finding evidence for a truth only suspected. 2 of his students supported him, and 2 more supported the priest as they left the chamber. I have studied very much over the years, performed countless experiments, taught myself 1,000 languages, and yet the skill that has taught me the finally truth is the one that I learned when I was but a poor young man, trying only to have enough gold to eat, whispered the sage. As he was escorted up the stairs to his bed, a red flower petal fell from the sleeve of his voluminous robe. Aishlibar died that night. A portrait of peace that came from contented knowledge. Publisher's note. This is another tale whose origin is unmistakably Dwemer. Again, the words of some Aldermis translations are quite different, but the essence of the story is the same. The Dunmer have a similar tale from Akhtibara, but in the Dunmer version. Azura recognizes the trick and refuses to answer the question. She slays the Dwemer present for their skepticism and curses the Dunmer for blasphemy. In the Aldermis versions, Azura is tricked not by an empty box, by a box containing a sphere which somehow becomes a flat square. Of course, the Aldermis versions become a few steps closer to the original Dwemer, are much more difficult to understand. Perhaps this stage music explanation was added by our Goldfelmer because his Felmer owns experience with such tricks in his plays when a mage was not available. Morabosar left even the character of Achabar alone, and he represents many Dwemer virtues. His skepticism, while not nearly as absolute in the Aldermis version, is celebrated enough, though. It brings a curse upon the Dwemer and the unnamed house of the poor priest. Whatever the true nature of the gods, and however right or wrong the Dwemer were about them, this tale might explain why the dwarves vanished from the face of Tamriel. Though Ashlebar and his kind may not have intended to mock the Aedra and Daedra, their skepticism certainly offended the divine orders. Once again, guys, that's been a reading of Azura the Box. You guys can follow us on Twitch. We'll be live reading them on Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, as well as playing games, smoking and joking. Various other content. I playing guitar. I'm learning how to do that through Musician. That's really interesting content. I think that you guys would be interested. We have all sorts of different stuff for our community to interact, and all the links will be down in the bio below.